Well, hey there, this is Dr. Scott. I'm going to be your instructor for English 1C online. I introduced myself to you personally in another video that's coming up in the Getting Started module. So I wanted to use this little video to introduce the course itself. English 1C, as you know, is about argumentative writing. It's about learning critical thinking. It's about becoming a better and more practiced academic writer. I give it a bit of a science slant. I know that sounds odd coming from a supposedly English teacher, but I also studied the history of science. I write about the history of science, and I write within the environmental sciences as a science journalist, as a science journalist as well. Several of my books and my dissertation cover scientific topics fairly extensively. So you're getting some of that, and since so many of you are STEM majors, it's okay. If you're not a STEM major, don't panic, because there's tons of humanities content in here too. So the way the course is going to work, yes, there's going to be lots of writing, but since this is a college writing course, all the writing is about reading. So let me quickly show you a couple of the books that we're going to be reading together and introduce some of the themes that we'll be exploring for our essays and tests and discussions. All right, here we go. First up, Naomi Oreskes and Eric Conway's very famous book, Merchants of Doubt. This is about 9 years old now. It came out in 2010. Hugely influential. Also became a movie. Don't panic. I know it looks kind of thick. We're actually only reading a few chapters. And they're the chapters about cigarettes, which whether you smoke them or you don't smoke them, we all know quite a bit about. So we're going to focus on what I'm calling the tobacco chapters. They are the fundamental foundation of the argument. And then it's up to you to apply that argument either to climate change, which is what Oreskes and Conway do, or to other things like, the vaping controversy that's going on right now. Does that sound familiar? And again, whether you smoke, don't smoke, vape, don't vape, climate skeptic, climate champion like me, doesn't matter, because the whole idea is to enter the debate and understand the terms of the debate. Okay, so that's the first book and the first module. That's roughly the first month of the course. Second month of the course, changing gears completely. This is where you humanities people are going to go, oh, thank goodness. Because we're going to read a book, another very famous about 10-year-old book called Last Child in the Woods, Richard Louv. And when he came to Foothill College, he filled 1,000 feet in Smithwick Theater when he was here when this book first came out. It's the last time I saw Smithwick completely full myself, as a matter of fact. That's our theater on campus, our big theater. And as the subtitle says, this is a book about saving our children from nature deficit disorder. Now, that's not an official psychiatric term, nature deficit disorder. It's the one that Louv made up, but it's also the one that made him world famous and the one that got 1,000 people into that auditorium to discuss his work. So you get to discuss that too. So it's not really a science book, but it does deal with psychiatry, psychology, in a way that engages with science, which is what we're here to do too. None of us, at least me, maybe some of you are already credentialed scientists, but most of you are at best on your way towards those credentials, right? And then finally, there's a book called Drawdown, and I decided I would show it to you on my laptop because I want to let you know that it's perfectly okay with me if you use ebooks. You're, of course, welcome to use paper books. I come from the 20th century, that century back there, where we all read paper. But I now read very frequently on my computer. I read on my phone. I'm a huge fan of audiobooks, and all of these books are available in audio format. If you do use the audio format, I think you'll want the ebook or the paper format. To be perfectly honest, as a researcher or as a teacher, I usually use all three because they each have advantages. But Drawdown, just to say, is a book that talks about ways to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and draw down carbon. And it's written by Paul Hawken, who also wrote a book called Natural Capitalism. So it's not an anti-capitalist book, for those of you that think that I'm way out there. A watermelon, green on the outside, red on the inside. That's one of those silly Merchants of Doubt strategies that I don't think is very effective. Okay, looking forward to having you join the course. So much more to say, but not in one video. Talk to you soon. See you on campus or online if you're only going to be visible to me that way.